Batman 137 by Chip Zdarsky and Jorge Jimenez. So, I mean, obviously the art I expected would be good. It's Jorge Jimenez. Why wouldn't it be? So I often won't read any of my books until like the Friday or the Saturday, just before we record. And for whatever reason this week, I think it's because we were doing this early and I had other things to do today. I was making sure I was reading some of the books, sprinkled throughout over a few days. So I read this back on like Wednesday. So if it takes me a second to click what was going on. But basically Batman starts clamping down on all Selina's like cronies, right? So the book starts with like, a couple of people that she's trained breaking into a place, and Batman's there and is beating the shit out of them and whatnot. And it becomes this running thing. And Batman's being extra aggressive with criminals. Tim calls him out on it. So on and so on. I think my big problem with this is that ultimately this issue is built into a conflict. It's built into a conflict with obviously Selina, but it's built into a conflict with Bruce and the rest of the Bat family, who all think that he's pushing himself and he's being extra aggressive to make a point that he's not happy about any of this. I think my big thing with this is not so much that I don't buy the conflict would get there eventually. It's that it happens so quickly. Like, we straight up get in this issue Batman fighting the Bat family. Like, that happens before the end of this issue.
Oh boy. Already, huh?
Yeah, and that felt a bit weird to me. They do like a little bit of a thing where they're distracting Batman to get to the people that were arrested already. But unbeknownst to them, this is the exact same time Batman is attacking Selina's base. So Batman actually breaks into her base and beats up most of the people she's been training. and then Jason...
You know what? If I didn't know any better, I would think that Batman's the villain.
Do you know what? One of my key things that I was going to say is that I am finding it very, very hard to in any way sympathize with his side of this. It feels like he's the one in the wrong. Now, don't get me wrong. At the end of the issue, much like the end of last issue, there's a little implication that Zur-En-Ar's having more of an influence on him than maybe he wants to admit. He's seeing that he's put him behind a jail cell in his mind, but he does kind of sound like he's just angry Zur-En-Ar Batman at times. So I think maybe they're doing something there. But even still, like, the rest of the team showing up and trying to stop Batman, and it just devolving into a fight immediately. And what's worse is that, Batman just kind of wins against them all quite easily. It just kind of...
We just had this in the Mark Waid Lazarus Planet book.
Yep, exactly. Until Damien's oddly absent until he shows up and punches Red Hood, and he's on his dad's side, of course, because he's Damien.
Of course, but of course he singles out Jason. It is like F you in particular.
Yeah, but Selina breaks out her people out of the police van, but then hears what's happened. Our base of operations has been completely torn apart, and a lot of our people have been beat. And Batman is with Damien, and Damien notes that because he's basically just realized about Batman's hand, how it's like a cybernetic hand now, and Bruce kind of admits that it's kind of helping the whole thing where he's getting old and feeling like he can't do it anymore. Like, his hand's stronger than it used to be, and it feels like, are we seeding that he's going to start giving himself more like augmentations to like make his body stronger? Because it kind of feels like he's like going, you know what, this is giving me an edge that I was starting to think I didn't have anymore.
I mean, the whole point, I bring Mark Waid's name up again because the whole point in Kingdom Come of the exoskeleton Batman is that he pushed his body so far that he had to have an exoskeleton frame in order just to walk around. Like, I don't get it. I don't get it.
Yeah, I'm scouring the book because there was another. It wasn't quite as funny as My Parents Were Rich, but there was a moment where Batman yelled something at someone, and it kind of.
It definitely sounds like he's devolving into 10-year-old Bruce.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
That was it. So when he's attacking the Selina's base, right, wherever she is with all of her people. And Jason's trying to stop him, and Jason's sort of like debating with him, and Batman says, if you believe Selina's plan, if you think death is fine if it stops more death, and then he yells, then shouldn't I kill you? which just like this is one of these things where the voice for him just feels off. And
It's off.
and if he's doing a thing where it's Zuranar that's starting to
Right.
creep in, okay, I can kind of at least like that justifies it to a point.
Right.
But the rest of the team like are already feeling like, oh, we have to step in and stop him. Like he's doing something wrong here, and I just think it escalates far too fast.
It's also very draconian thinking on Bruce's part that all crime is equal, right? Because it's not.
No, it's not even close to all being
right.
equal, yeah.
And so, like, yes, his parents died, and that's what gave birth to Batman, right?
And that
But
was was murder. But if someone had just mugged
Right.
them and left them alone,
right,
not the same thing.
Because when he says my parents are rich, I feel like if they had got back to Wayne Manor and Martha's pearls were gone, she would just be like, oh, okay, well, let's figure out how to put better locks on these windows, right? And they would just go buy new ones.
No, we'd be reading comics about Martha having nightmares about her pearls falling from her neck for years if she
But
lived.
no, but like, you know what I mean? Like, so just this very oversimplification to Bruce that all crime is equal when you literally have your arch nemesis Joker upping the ways he kills people, right? Not really doing property crimes.
Joe, the sad part is that, again, I said this a lot last time, but conceptually, if you told me you're going to do a story where Bruce is starting to go too far and the rest of the family unite and rebel against him, I think that sounds like a great idea. That sounds like a great idea. But it's went from 2 to 11 in the span of like 10 pages in this issue. It does not earn it. It does not build up to it. I just did not feel it. All of it just rang false to me. So there's two other big things that's going on here that needs to be mentioned. One is that whilst all this stuff's happening, a lot of the other villains are up to something. There's just a couple pages where it's do you even know who this is that's showing up here?
I did see Mad Hatter and Professor Pig. I got to that part.
It's Mad Hatter, I think. It's Mad Hatter coming and Professor Pig brings him in, and it's a table with Scarecrow, Black Mask, Two-Face, Calendar Man, Scarface, and I think Firefly was the last one? Or Killer Moth.
One of them.
Yeah, I get them mixed up, but basically...
They're really pushing Calendar Man.
Yeah, they are, but they're really they're building up to something. Whilst like Catwoman, and this is probably going to be lend to the idea that Batman is at least partially right, is that all this has done is be a big distraction, so the real bad guys could plan and plot and do something really bad. So that'll be a fair point when it pops up. But and then the other thing is that so after he's had his fight with his Bat family and he's in his brownstone, apartment, some lawyer dude shows up to tell Bruce that. Because of his financials, he's actually he's lost the manor. The manor has been sold to someone. So the last chunk of the issue.
Selena. Please say Selena.
Well, he thinks that. He actually considers that it might have been Selena.
Okay.
But he's like thinking, oh, who is this? But he's basically racing back to the cave because he's like, I need to sort of shut off the access so no one can find the Bat cave. It'll completely blow the whole thing, right? Whoever this new owner is. So he's racing back to the Bat cave. He gets in. This is where Zuranar's kind of like over his shoulder being like, oh, they'd expose you. You need the cave. We need the cave. Stop this. He's sort of the devil in his shoulder. But the ending is we find out who's bought the cave. Batman sort of slouches down and he just tears off to the side. Pardon me, I don't mean to be rude, but you're in my home. And the final page reveals that the person who's bought the cave and now knows who Batman is out of nowhere Vandal Savage.
What? Stop.
The last page is Vandal Savage.
Oh, okay. I mean, look, I love Vandal Savage as a character. But yeah, you were really not kidding when you said out of nowhere.
Is it so out of nowhere? When I got to this page, I was like, wait, what? Why? where have you been? Like
the immortal, yeah. Last time I saw him, he was doing stuff with in Snyder's run, right? Like those posts with the fragment of reality.
You mean the Justice League?
Yeah, Justice League. Yeah. So
I don't know if he's been done much since then, but So this is a weird pivot, and it does make me think, like, how does this fit into the rest of the Gotham war that's happening? Because it feels like separate to that, but. I mean, I don't know. It says to be continued in Catwoman 57, which is out in a couple weeks. So, obviously the art is generally very good. It's Jorge Jimenez. He knows what he's doing. There's not really much to fault there. Conceptually, I don't even mind the ideas that they're playing with. I just think it's speed running through and not actually giving any. It's not giving it time to really believe that the seeds of like, not even mistrust. That's not the right word, but just the seeds of the family thinking, "Oh, we need to intervene." Like there's like Batman's going too far. We have to intervene. They just don't earn them making that choice. And I don't really enjoy Batman's side of this because it feels like he's just ignoring every valid point any of them make.
Yeah.
And while I'm not saying that's completely out of character necessarily, just the way it's handled and the way it's scripted just rings a bit false. It's playing in a way where Batman's feeling out of character the entire time. And maybe that's partially the point, but I think you could get across that he's out of character as opposed to me thinking maybe the writer just isn't really good at writing Batman. which is the precipice I'm kind of on right now.
Yeah.
So. Yeah,
because even during the failsafe stuff, he felt like Batman, and even in the Red Mask stuff, which we didn't necessarily like and got kind of zany, it still felt like the voice of Bruce is right. This just feels like it's not. Like it's a different character.
I mean, there was the odd little moment where he was a bit off. It just wasn't ever like a huge deal during the failsafe arc, but there was definitely those little moments where it felt like the voice was just a little bit different.
Yeah.
But it's gotten worse as time has went on in the run for sure. Bizarrely, it's probably because Zdarsky's feeling more confident, but in a weird way, he's leaning into things I don't like. So it's not something I'm super on board with. I guess the key thing in this, other than the big reveal about who bought the manor, is that Selina is pissed. Like Batman has fired a shot across the bow, and Selina is probably going to want to retaliate next issue. So I'm interested in seeing what she does with that.
Yeah.
But it's a murky story so far for me. I'm not in love with it by any means.
It's wild.
If that was obvious. Yes. Suddenly, Vandal Savage.
Yeah, that's the one now. I'm excited to see how this all fits in now. Because do you think that's going to continue in Catwoman, or do you think?
I don't think so. I feel like Vandal Savage stuff won't come back until Batman's next issue. Would be my guess. But
yeah,
I don't know.
That makes sense.
We'll see. As far as ratings go, I think I might give it a 6 because the art's quite good and it's not like I hate every idea that's in there, but the execution is leaving me kind of cold in a lot of ways. So 6 out of 10 for me for Batman 137.